POV, it's 2010, Halo Reach just dropped and life was good. Man, you guys want to hear a nostalgic story about Halo Reach? So, I did not have Halo Reach when it first came out. Everybody was talking about it being the final game in the Halo series, because Bungie was going to be moving on. So it was like, oh my god, the final game. To that point, the most current shooter was Halo 3. Even with ODST, that game was made in the Halo 3 engine. So that level of visual fidelity, Halo was Halo 3 visually. And I remember when I got my Game Informer magazine that had the story about what Halo Reach was. And I was blown away by the graphics. Like how much better the Spartans looked, how much more detailed they looked. Even, I remember being really fixated on the new shield visual effects when the Spartans sustained damage. Like, it looked really cool in the Game Informer magazine. And I remember looking at the characters and looking at the weapons, and it was just like, this is crazy. Halo Reach looks so good. My buddy was able to get Halo Reach before us, and we stopped by his house, I think, for something, and his older brother had skipped school and was playing Halo Reach, and I remember he was holding the needler, and up to this point, it was the Halo 3 style needler, you know, so you got those cartoony looking crystal shards. Like, if you think of, like, crystals in a cartoon, you know, the blocky type, like, that's what the needler looked like. So seeing the shards, like, really crystalline and looking really kind of like brittle and messed up and very like, it was, I had never seen the needler with such definition to it. It was so cool seeing a needler that high res. What I was most excited about was Forge, because I spent a summer, I borrowed my buddy's Halo 3 Mythic disc that had the DLC, because I didn't have Xbox Live. So Forge was mostly where I spent my Halo 3 days. It was playing campaign, playing Forge, inviting buddies over, and then playing Halo custom games on my Forge maps. By this point, I had Xbox Live, but I was in for Forge mode. I couldn't wait to see what they were going to do next. And there were all, you know, the schoolyard rumblings about Forge World and like how crazy it was, open world Forge. And of course I wanted it. I wanted the game really, really badly. And finally, one of my friends, Daniel, who lived up the street, his mom was picking up the game for him after school. So I went to his house, and first thing we did was load into Forge World. And I remember the camera controls were different, because in Halo 3, it was like the object would float with wherever you were looking. And then in Halo Reach, they changed it to where your monitor will like rotate around the object. And once I figured out the controls, I just barely managed to get a turret and some sandbag placement down. And then I had to go home. But dude, Halo Reach was magical to launch for that game. It kind of sucks that we, you know, Halo hasn't really had an experience like that. Like, just feeling overwhelmed when you load up the game because you don't even know where you want to start because there's so much content. Now you're lucky if the Halo game even releases with a progression system. The good old days of completed games. Yeah, right?